Hey guys, Mouse here, and finally, after many hours, finally got the chance to investigate and try to learn more about the defense decrease, defense penetration, and ignore defense mechanics in the game. So there are a lot of questions that still remain unanswered at this point. And with this video, we're gonna answer some of them, but there will be a lot more questions afterwards. So this is not gonna be your usual soul leveling arise testing video where we like attack monsters, quick test, and check it real quick. Not something like that. This is also not a gameplay. This is just me really presenting to you what I found out. So I will try to keep this video as short as possible and try to focus more only on those that are relevant and simple enough for someone like me to like do or understand, meaning we can like take immediate action or changes in our builds upon knowing this information, things like those. So I'm not gonna run the numbers anymore because that's something that I prefer not to do. It's gonna take a lot of time. It's not my expertise as well, and I don't think that's something like I would personally enjoy. Although I can do that if this was a thesis, but it's not. We can ask ChatGPT's help as well if needed. But yeah, so basically what we did here is to do a lot of damage tests in order to find out how defense decreased, ignore defense, and penetration affect damage output. We're gonna be limited to that only for this. Although I actually found a lot of interesting things here. It's not something that would be included in this video, probably in another video if I get the time or if I won't be lazy to do that. So and next will be, how do they stack? Are they the same thing? This is really important, guys, like really interesting as well. So are they really effective? And under what circumstances are they gonna be effective? It's gonna be worth adding defense decrease of bloodlust or using black lion or adding more penetration, things like those. So we're gonna take a look at that here. So we tested different levels of defense decrease percentage, 7%, 15%, so on and so forth, using various skills like bloodlust and the skill 15%, 20% from Baekhyunho. And we also tested Black Lion set, which gives 15% damage increase, 15% ignore defense. We also tested Suyun's support skill, which gives defense penetration as well as additional a bit of damage percent increase. And we also tested the defense penetration percent from the artifacts, and we also tested them on different monsters in relevant game content like the bear, 25th floor, Igris, Vulcan, hard. This is story mode Vulcan, by the way, and Cerberus, workshop of brilliant light, normal, and the dragon. So for the character stats here, the stats for any changes in the test, stats are held constant. Total power changes are only minimal with around 1 to 2% change above the recommended total power to avoid damage discrepancy, and precision is at 99%. Of course. So here are the stats and the weapons we used, the skill we used, the total power as well. So like I said, I don't want to make this video so long, so I'm just gonna go straight into it. You guys can verify it. I'm gonna post this data set as well for you guys to check and for you guys to do things on your own. Okay, so firstly, we tested for the dataset number 1, we tested the default, wherein we don't have any gears, we don't have anything that might affect defense related stats here in the game. So this is the default damage, the starting damage that we're gonna base our tests upon. And this is wearing 3-piece Black Lion set with 1 additional armor piece without any damage related stats. All stats are held constant. It starts with 0 penetration, 0% damage increase. So one of the most important findings that I got is this: monsters have different defense and respond differently to various defense decrease, penetration, and ignore defense mechanics. So what you're seeing here is the bear and Cerberus, wherein we applied 7% decreased defense debuff and only got 1.24% damage increase, even though the damage is relatively already high, like 500,000 or 400,000 damage plus. So the damage increase is very, very minimal. And we added 15%, like we added 8% from this We are now at 15% defense decrease. We got 2% damage increase and 20% defense decrease, 3.6% damage increase only from the default damage. And as soon as we go up, it's still very, very low. And to me, to be honest, it's like it's not worth it. So one of the things that could explain this is that in the first place, probably the bear as well as the Cerberus, this is very interesting. Cerberus Workshop of Brilliant Light normal mode actually doesn't have much defense. I would assume that, and I think it's safe to assume that, because even though we added a lot, like 60% defense decrease, 67%, and we even added penetration 15% plus Suyun's 16% penetration, and in the end we only got 18.89% additional damage from the base damage. So one of the things that we can actually take, one of the actionable things that we can actually do here is that when it comes to these monsters, we probably don't have to wait on Shadow Step. We can just keep on hitting them and deal damage right away, because as you saw, like even with all the debuffs and penetration, there isn't really much significant damage. But that is not the case for Igris and Vulcan in the hard story mode, as well as the Dragon in POG. We added 7% defense decrease and got 6.2%. So it's very, very close. It's like a final damage increase. And we further added 15% decreased defense. Now we are at 14.16% additional damage. We added 20%. We're now at 19.49%. Very close. And as soon as we got into the 27% mark, the damage increase is actually now much higher than the defense that percentage that we decreased. And when we applied Shadow Step, 60% defense decrease, we got a 94.76% increase in damage. So from this, we can observe and we can assume that the defense decrease, the effect on the damage output accelerates as it goes higher and higher. And later we might be able to give some explanation or hypothesis on why that is happening here. Even if you double it and add a bit like even this, the 60% is still so much higher, meaning this suggests a non-linear relationship when it comes to all of these defense decrease. But I'm not sure about that. That's just my what I would assume and what I can observe. But without those assumptions, we can still say that the damage increase is significant, and this is really, really important. And here's the most interesting part here. At 60%, we added the Bloodlust 7%, and now we got 120% damage increase. So from 94% damage increase, we got to 120%. So it's almost triple. Like you add 7% from this, you got 6%. You add 77% from this, you got 26% damage increase. So in relation to the previous damage, we can also compute that 120 94.76. So that's around 27% damage increase from this one. Oof. It's 94.76. Yeah, somewhere around that 27% increase just by adding that 7%. That's crazy, guys. All right, so here's another interesting part that I found out. Adding penetration did not really at this point, okay, this is continuous test, okay. After 67% defense decrease, we added 5.8% penetration and only got around like 6% or 7% damage increase, which is very, very low. And we further added 10 more. Now at 15%, the difference is just 138 minus 120, 18%, 16% damage difference. So from here, what we can already assume is that probably and most likely defense decrease is not the same as penetration. But I'm gonna show you why we initially thought that it was the same, okay, later in the other datasets that I'm gonna present here. We added Suyun, which like gave us a lot of damage increase. But this is not just the penetration part, okay? So we can't assume that it's the penetration that worked here, because Suyon's support skill also gives damage percent increase based on the penetration the user has. Anyhow, it's the damage increase is still significant, but I tested this with Libora. Libora is still much way higher. I didn't put it here, but it's way higher than Suyon. So I think those debuffers still superior, but of course that's going to be situational. We don't know whether or not there are monsters that would not respond well to increased damage taken receive. Don't know that. It's for another topic that we might have to discuss in the future. But for now, what is observable here only is that the importance of defense decrease and the impact that it gives to the damage output. And the Dragon, Vulcan in the hard story mode all respond the same. That's why in POD, my goodness, without that shadow step towards the head, really huge damage difference. Imagine this, like at 67%, so this is heroic plus shadow step, we got 102.3% damage from the original damage without. Let's move ahead to the Black Lion set, wherein we also tested that one and added it at the beginning. And from the Black Lion set, we got 13.83% damage increase initially, okay? Initially. The initial Black Lion set gave us somewhere around that damage increase. So we're not gonna talk about the Serpent Bear anymore, because I don't think it's gonna be that much relevant. And it's hard because the values are very small for comparison. But here in this case, the defense decrease from Igris, and then from Vulcan Hard, and then from the Dragon around 14, 13.82, and 12.67 is actually almost the same. Okay, almost the same here. Okay, so but we cannot assume that they are similar, because what if that's just because the defense has not been decreased yet? And I'm gonna explain to you guys later on. But we tested this again, and we also got pretty much the same trend here. As you increase your defense decrease, the damage percent increases as well. So let's just take a look at the damage comparison. So at 67%, we have 142.82% damage increase, again in relation to the original damage. And then without it, we got around 120.94%. So it's safe to say that by adding the Black Lion set, so we got 142 minus 120, that's we only got around 22% or so, 20%, 21% damage increase. It increased more than the actual value that we added, but it's not as high as when you compare it here. Okay, so that's one thing that we have to consider here. So again, guys, we're not gonna like go crazy on the numbers here. Take this with a grain of salt, because this is just observing the trend. This does not tell us whether this one is better. We're just technically looking at how it affected the damage output, just so we're gonna have an idea, like a general idea on what to choose when it comes to building our character. So this is a defense decrease damage increase using the default gears. As you can see, WOBL Serb and the Bear overlap here at the bottom. Not much increase in terms of damage output. And then here we can see the trend from here. It's a straight. We approach the 27% mark. It's a bit of a increase in slope, and then going to the 60%, it's still not a consistent straight line, meaning it's really not linear. Okay, not linear. And then we further added 7%, and boom, this line is very steep, and works, applies on Igris, Vulcan, and the Dragon as well. So the Black Lion is pretty much the same trend as well, but there is a bit of anomaly here. I'm not sure if this is just a data anomaly or something, but this might be something that we might need to reinvestigate further in the future. But from what we can tell in the previous bar chart, when we added Black Lion, we only got around 22% damage increase. We're gonna check on that again later, but yeah. So here we added everything, and like, because all of these might be just one thing. So this is the graph, like assuming the Black Lion penetration and defense decrease work similarly. All right. So up to from 7% here, we added the defense decrease, and the 15% mark here is the Black Lion set. And so up to the point now at 75%, this is assuming that Black Lion is also the same as defense decrease, the ignore defense. We added 7%. Of course, it's still the same. But when we added the penetration afterwards, so 5%, the 15%, and Suyun, the trend actually changed. Okay? So from this alone, I would say that penetration is not similar to defense decrease. But we're not sure yet if it's similar to the ignore defense. We added 5%, bam, slight change, and then we added 15%. It's a bit straight. We added Suyun, went up a bit, and that might be due to the damage increase percentage from Suyun support skill and not just the penetration 16%. We tested Suyun as well, and what we found out is that even at the beginning, when we added the 16% penetration of Suyun, we pretty much got the initial damage as well, similar to when we added the Black Lions. Of course, we can't assume that they are the same. There might be a mechanics here wherein, like, it's when you decrease the defense, maybe you won't be able to penetrate anything anymore. Probably that could explain the reason why the trend here changed. That's one possibility, but again, I'm not sure. I'm not interested in like investigating that any further. So we're just describing what we're seeing here, and then I actually checked that to confirm because it was really weird, right? So here, what we did is we changed the order and see how the damage increase would change. Will it have that upwards trend that we normally see using the defense decrease? Because it's pretty clear that the defense decrease percent is accelerating upwards. But here, what we see, we added a 5.8% penetration. So we did the artifacts first and got pretty much a good amount here. We added 15.88% penetration and we got only 10.39% damage increase. So this complicates things further, I believe, because it's not anymore the same as what Suyun added, but Suyun has that damage increase percent as well. But this penetration right here is not anymore the same as the damage we got from Black Lion and the defense decrease. It's far from that. The damage is really far already. And then we further added Suyun. Then we normally we're gonna get a slight let me just make this bigger. Normally we're gonna get a slight upwards because of the damage increase, possibly. And then afterwards we added the Bloodlust, so went down a bit. Maybe the damage increase affected that, I would assume. And then we keep on adding all the defense decrease. Here, as you can see, it's still the same. Like, it's gonna go up and up here. Now, assuming that they're all the same, we're now at 98.88%. Okay, if we just add the penetration, the defense decrease, then we're now at 98.88% decrease. But when we added further the Black Lion set, it still increased a lot. So meaning it's either some of the defense penetration or decrease gets gets translated into damage, but I would believe that they're really not the same, because otherwise this should be a straight line, right? You already achieved the 100%. There's nothing to reduce anymore, but that's not the case. It kept on increasing, and surprisingly, somewhere here it increased from 1/6. We added 15% ignore def here, from 98 to 113%. Okay, guys, this again, this is assuming that they are the same, but they're actually not. So we just tried to check if they would actually behave similarly, but the discrepancies here or the changes in the slopes here would mean that they are not the same. Okay, so 98% to 113%, we got around 32% increase in damage in relation again to the default damage, not from the previous damage. So what we would get from here is that it's still effective. The Black Lion set, after adding this, after all the debuffs and penetration, still effective, gave significant damage increase, but we still don't know what it really is. That's the thing, we still don't know what it really is. Because we can add it somewhere here, we can add it at the beginning, it's still gonna end up the same damage output no matter which order we do it. So we have to observe it or maybe run the numbers here, but I don't want to go into that anymore. But one of the things that we could further investigate when it comes to the defense penetration and the ignore defense is using this data set here. Okay, so here this is the default one. So we can actually make a hypothesis. Is the defense penetration and ignore defense the same? Okay, so we have here our point at 67% defense decrease. We already know that it's very consistent. The defense decrease is just so consistent, okay, from start to finish. So we added, now we're only asking whether, now we're only trying to know how the defense penetration and the ignore defense work. Okay, not essentially not work, but how would they like affect the damage output. So at 67% here, we got 120.94% increase in damage relative to the original damage. Okay, we added 15% penetration, we are now at 138.67%. And for the Black Lion set, the setup here is that we first applied the Black Lion ignore defense. Now if we apply that and reach the 67% defense decrease, we are at 142%. So this is 67% defense decrease plus 15% ignore defense. So 142.82% here, and from here is 138.67% with that penetration. So at that point, the damage is actually pretty much the same. However, it's still kind of inconclusive because in one of the tests that we did is that we only got, let me just pull it up, we only got 10.39% damage increase by adding 15.88% penetration on Vulcan. Okay, here the red one here, and based on our initial setup on Black Lion, wherein we added 15% ignore defense on Vulcan Heart, we got 13.68% damage increase. This might actually be, well, I don't think it is precision. 3% is already like high damage, unless there's something going on when it comes to the bonus damage when you're above the recommended total power. That's also possible. So it's kind of, a lot of these are inconclusive, but at least we know, we at least have a basis on these. So this needs to be reinvestigated, but the damage is close, although I think and I feel they might not be the same actually. So the thing here is that who's gonna be computed first? I think that's where it it gets complicated. So will it be ignored first before decreasing the percentage, or will it be decreased first before increasing before any of the percentage. And what is like the defense penetration reducing? Is it a raw defense or the total defense? So these are the things that it's hard to know just by doing this. But what's more important is really just we now know like which one is really giving us some damage output in specific cases. So it's hard to know like which one's better in all of these, but yeah, in this case the penetration was the one that's actually gave us like the least amount of damage output in comparison to the ignore def as well as to the defense decrease in this particular case. Okay, so it could be different in other cases. All right. So like I said, I want to keep this video as short as I can, and I think that's pretty enough for us for now. There are a lot of things to discuss here, but I think we can use that for now. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this video. I do have some thoughts that I wanted to share, but I don't want to really go like hardcore in this right now because a huge update is coming soon. The guilds, especially new banners as well. I think we should focus more on that, but at least now we have like a bit of idea on what to do and what to prioritize when it comes to choosing the stats that would help us deal more damage and what to prioritize in the blessing stones. So yeah, if you love these types of videos, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like as well. I would really appreciate it. And just let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and maybe you have some information that you wanted to share. Maybe I did a mistake when it comes to this and my analysis of these. And feel free to discuss and let me know what you guys think, and if you want to help me process this data, because it's really not my expertise. I'm just trying my best to give you some information so to show you what I have observed and what I would do for my own character as well when I'm building them. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on our next video.